Alright guys, I'm picking up where I left off in that last video. I talked to you a little bit about what a list and a dictionary is, and now we're going to see about how can we use the list and the dictionary to load the different worlds. Currently, if you press play, it will just load a set of enemies that you didn't really pattern out. You kind of just told it to randomly load in there. Instead of just randomly loading in there, I'm going to show you how to access these different patterns that I have set up, or perhaps you set up, to load your different characters. How you're going to do that is if you go to your test world, where you have your little dots of where everything spawns, etc. And we're going to need to turn off the spawn of these characters. We want to turn off the current spawn and implement a new spawning pattern. If you go to Squirt spawn point holder, this is the object, or the maybe not object, this is the node that is spawning in your characters. And how does this one currently work? Well, it just goes at the ready. As soon as it's made, it shuffles up itself, and then it says load a world. And how do we load a world? Well, we just go to each one of the spawn points and we spawn a random entity from 0 to I guess apparently this one's all the way up to 4. So it's choosing one out of these 4 enemies and loading it at each one of the spawn points. That's great for loading a single entity, or that's great for loading a random level. But in games, a lot of times you have set levels that you want to see over and over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this level loader here. And now when I play it, you'll see that nothing spawns at all, because we haven't, we didn't tell it what to do. Now I need to get access to the current level and the patterns here. So I'm going to show you an example of how to get to the patterns, and then we will I'll talk about how I did that. So I'm going to reference my level loader script, because you can now get access to that thing from anywhere just by calling it by name. The name that you call it by is whatever you put right here. Notice that what I have written right there, level loader, is exactly like that. So if you want to change what that is, you can just change it right here on this. You could put the word global in there, blah, blah, blah. So if I say go to the level loader and tell me what are my current worlds. Let me see here. Tell me what my current level is. So let me make a little deal that says what I'm actually doing here. Current level. Current level is equal to, and I'll just print it out. I'm just going to print it out. So if I run this, it'll tell me which level I'm currently on. I need to turn off these planet printing things here. Let me turn the planet print off because it's driving me crazy. Right there it says print name. Do the other ones have the same one? Yes, they do. I just don't want to see that anymore. It's driving me bonkers. Okay, run it again, and current level. It also tells me that the global script is also printing out. I'm going to turn that off too, which is right there. So pass. Sorry folks, sometimes you got to do on the fly fixes. Okay. Alright, here we go. If you click run, it'll tell you what current level you're on. I'm on level 0. Well, what world am I on? So let's also print that out. So I'll do comma. Current world is, go to level loader and tell me what the current world is. Run. So my current level is 0, and my current world is tutorial. Alright. Let me use this information to see what kind of spawn pattern I have. So I'm going to say print current spawn pattern should be. Now, how am I going to find that information? Well, if we look at level loader, to get the spawn pattern, you need to get the world that you're on, which is tutorial, and then it'll take you into tutorial setup, and then you want to look for the spawn pattern based upon the current level. All right, so let me grab this right here. This should be helpful. Control C, and I'll go back to the spawn folder. It'll probably just be easier if you guys see it. I'm cheating by looking at that, but I'm saying level loader, square brackets. I want to get the current world. Current world, which is tutorial. And then I want to get the current level. You know what? I'll do one more. This is current world and level. Current world and level. And then I will do spawn pattern. Hopefully this is going to make sense for you guys, but it may or may not. I don't know. I don't need that anymore. Run. Don't crash. It did. I'm going to pause for 1 second, fix this. Alright, I redid it so I could just basically re-explain. So current level, current world. You hit run. Current world is 0, or the current level is 0. Current world is tutorial. Using that little bit of information, you can put it in like this. And you can basically request, go to that world and get the world that we're on. So we're saying, using that world, what do we have available to ourselves? So if you look at that world, what's on the world? Okay, well, you have a level 0 and you have a level 1. And on level 0, you have this pattern of people. And on level 1, you have a boss and you fight him. Okay. Okay, so now let's go to what level we're on, because we're on tutorial world, but we're on current level 0. So let's add in that 0 effect right there. So let's say we're on 0. So now we're basically doing the same thing, but this time we're going down to the using what level we're on. So we're on, we're going to the worlds, we're getting our current world, and then we're getting our current level, and that tells us, okay, you have access to this, a spawn pattern of these different characters. This is basically row 0. The very top row is all 4s, which would be all squirt 3s. The next row is all 2s, which would be all squirt 1s. The next row would be all 3s, which is all squirt 2s, and then all squirt 1s again. We don't even have any squirt 0s on that one. If I wanted to change it, I could change it. All right, so then after you do that, we don't want this whole gizmo here. We want just this pattern right there, either the 4s or the 1s or the 2s. We want just those so I know what path to actually spawn in. So then you do this last one here. You use the world, and then you also use the current level. So I'm using the world, I'm using the level, and I'm saying, hey, give me that spawn pattern. What is that spawn pattern? I need to know what to use here. So if you hit run there, it says, okay, on this particular level, level 0, and on world tutorial, you need to spawn in 44444, 22222, 33333, 22222, 1111111. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Now we need to make, we've got the information now, and if I want to spawn in a different set of enemies, like I told you, there are no zeros here. If I want to spawn in squirt zeros, I'm going to go back to my level loader and I'll adjust this world. Instead of it being 4, 2, 3, 2, 1, I can change these all to zeros. You're going to make sure you put the right number in there. I don't know if I did, but the number needs to be correct. Let's see. I don't know. It's based upon how many spawn points you put. So if you have 5 spawn points, you only need 5 on each row. And also if you have more rows, you need to add more of those. Okay, so if I run that again, the spawn pattern just changed for that level. Now I have zeros in there. Okay, now we need to devise a way to request reading what actually needs to spawn. So instead of just doing, I'm going to leave this load level here, and I'm going to make a new function. So let me comment out this one here. This information's still good, so I'm going to leave it right there for you to use, but I'm going to design a way to actually figure out what level we're on. So I'm going to call it load current level. Now I do not have that function. It doesn't exist. I have load level right there, which just loads random. Maybe I would want to even call it something different. Maybe I want to call this one load random squirts. All right, so now that's load random squirts, because that one just doesn't exist anymore. Now we're doing load current level. So I need to make that function. So function load current level. And what does load current level do? Well, it takes this information here and it needs to load the correct squirts for each one of those patterns. All right, little time skip there. We're going to change this load current level. We're going to go grab using this information we got right here, which gives us some, it's going to give us a list. The list is going to look either like a set of numbers or it's going to have the word boss right there, and then we'll know to load the boss. So when we call load level, it goes and gets our current world and our current level, and then it grabs the spawn pattern and stores it into current pattern. And if the current pattern has boss for the first thing, then we should load a boss. If current pattern, if the first thing does not say boss, if it says something else other than boss, then the only other thing that I programmed was to load squirts. So if you hit run on that, it's not going to load anything, but it is going to tell us what we should do. Right there it says we should load a set of squirts right there, because we are currently on 0. Let me undo this one here too. So the ready function will tell us where we're at. And let me call this second, Control X, Tab, Control V. All right. So if I run this again, we are currently on level 0 tutorial world. And if you use that information to load that current level, you will get, this is the pattern of enemies that we should load. All 4s, all 0s, 3s, 2s, 1s. And then that means I need to load these squirts. So instead of using this spawn random ones, I'm going to spawn them based upon these numbers here. As the worlds change, let's go back to level loader. You're going to notice I made a slight change here. I added more levels, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where 5 is the boss. So if I change this current level to, let's say, level 1, instead of getting this 4 zeros, 3s, 2s, 1s, now I'm going to get all 1s. 1s, 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 1s. So that's going to spawn only those. And if I change it to level 2, I'm going to get the level 2 pattern of enemies. And if I change it to level 5, now that it's no longer hitting a pattern of squirts, it is now hitting a boss. And so it's saying we need to go into boss load mode. All right, so that's the general idea of what's going to happen. Let's change this back to level 0 and see if we can't load this random set of enemies here. All right, so, oops, wrong one. We need to be on squirt holder here. All right, now we need to load a pattern. Right, let's load this one. We should load a pattern of squirts. So let's say print, or no, let's make a function. We'll call it load squirt pattern, and let's just put that pattern in there. Current pattern. Now I don't have this function. It does not exist. So let's do function, and we're going to make this function here. Boom. Now it's created. So using that, let me put this above this just so it's easier to see, like so. All right, so what happened is we read all that stuff. It saw that it had a pattern of things, and it said, okay, we need to load this pattern, and it sent this pattern of stuff. So let me just use these one at a time. So I'm going to say for pattern in my current pattern. Let's just print it out one at a time. Print the pattern. Let's see what that does. I'm on level 0, so it should have some random stuff, and it's just going to print them out. And it's going to see it's going to print them 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Right there. See that? There it goes. 4s. This one's all 4s. So that's a string, right? So that pattern, this is actually a row. For row, all right? So that's the row that I'm doing. So I could say for spot in row. Now I'm drilling down one more time. So I'm going to say print, and I could print that spot. So the first spot is going to be, it's going to go to each row, and it's going to go to each spot and tell me what every single one should be. Now it's going to print out a bunch of stuff because it's going to basically like put each one of them one after the other. It's going to print like a huge line right there. But you can see it grabs the row, and then it goes through each one. 0, do, 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 and then it goes to the next row. Okay, that's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So then it goes to 0, 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to make a if statement here. So I'm going to say if spot is 0. Really, it's a string 0, right? Then we want to, what do we want to do? Well, we want to spawn a squirt 0. I'm going to just write that for now. So I'm going to say print spawn a squirt 0 at current location, right? But if it's not a 0, elif spot, if it's a 1, then we're not spawning a squirt 0, we're going to spawn a squirt 1, which will be this guy here. So it's basically this exact same thing. So let's run that. Now it's going to say, okay, the first row was all 4s. We we didn't set up for 4, but we did set up for zeros. So it says, oh, spawn a squirt 0 at wherever you're at, and then the next one, 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 and so on and so forth. All right, that's the general idea. I'm going to continue fleshing out this this pattern here. All right, let's wrap this one up. So I went ahead and created a load squirt pattern function. So whenever it's not a boss, we're going to use that pattern of whatever we were sent. Like I had to change it from 4s to 3s because I didn't have a number 4. But when it's received this pattern, it's going to go through the pattern one at a time. So it's going to send that pattern 3s, 0s, 3s, 2s, 1. And it's going to send it to this guy. And then this guy's going to look through that pattern. And it's going to go through row by row, column by column, and it's going to load each one of those. The first section here, it's going to go through it, and it's going to go and it's going to say, it's going to figure out what the type is, 3, and it's going to figure out which spawner location that is. If you'll take a look under the spawn point holder, you'll notice that whenever we named these spawn points, we named them 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, and then we got all the way to 7, and we stopped counting, and then we started going. We did 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, all the way up to 7 again. That's because I have 7 columns and a total of 5 rows. So we see row, 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 and then each individual one is a column. So as you navigate through each one of these on this pattern, the first one is the 0, 0, so that would be a 3. The next one is the 0, 1, which would also be a 3, 0, 2, 0, 3, and then when you go to the next row, it would be 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, and it's essentially just inserting the correct number into the correct spot. So that's what this function here does. It goes to each row. I even printed out the row up. I can turn that off there. But it goes to each row, and then for each column it grabs each one and creates the name for each one. And it sends the name and the type. It says, I would like you to spawn a squirt with a certain type, and the type is either any of these here, and I want you to spawn it at a certain spawn place or a spawn location. So what it does here is it says, okay, I'm going to make a placeholder for the new squirt, a placeholder for the new location. If the type was a 0, then I'm going to grab squirt 0. If it was a 1, I'm going to grab squirt 1. And then 2 or 3. So it grabs the type of squirt, then it gets the location, and it looks for the correct child or the location that has the same name as what was sent. And when it finds it, it takes the squirt and moves that position to that spawn point location. So that was the quick rundown of how this works. Now I can go back. Now this gives me the option of either changing levels or updating my pattern of what spawns here. So I just spawned on level 0, and it gave me rows of 3, 0, 3, 2, 2, 2, and then 1. And you can see that pattern pops up right here. 3, 0, 3, and so on. Well, if I want to spawn a different pattern, I could change the level. Let's change it to level 1 up here, and I'll hit run, and instead of it looking for pattern 0, now it's looking for pattern 1, which is all those red ones. or I could do pattern 2 or 3 or whatever pattern I want. There's all the blue ones. Or I could make up my own custom pattern. 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0. And that's on level 0. So if I put 0 here and I hit run, now it's going to spawn in that custom pattern I just made right there. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. This is going to give us a whole lot of options to work on making different levels and also loading bosses. We haven't yet filled in the boss part of it, but it's going to be very similar to this. Essentially, whenever it says load boss, instead of loading a squirt, it's going to go find the correct boss, and it'll drop the boss in the center of the stage, and everything will continue. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you learned something.